What's good, everybody? It's Dr. Crosby of Infinite Impact Leadership, and I'm glad you clicked on this video today. If I could have just a couple minutes of your time, because I want to talk about a question that we hear a lot as leaders, we talk about a lot as leaders, we think about a lot as leaders. What does successful leadership look like? Now, there's so many different levels that we can go with that particular question, and there's not really one answer. But in this video, I think I can help you out. Let's go. Listen, how many times have we heard about those stories or actually seen those stories or movies of that one sports team that has all the best players on the team, and they're just faster and they're just stronger than everybody, and they go into every game and they dominate their opponents to the point where it's not even fun watching them, but it is fun watching them because everything they do is so smooth, everything they do is so orchestrated, everything they do is almost perfect. And then they get into that championship game and they have that battle with that team that is not as polished, and they're a little scrappy, and their uniforms don't look as good, but they scratch and they crawl all the way to this championship game. And they may not have the talent that the other team has. They may not have the plays that the other team has. They may not have those things, but somehow they end up winning the championship. So the big question in that whole scenario is, which team actually experienced success? Was it that team that just dominated and had the easy path to the championship game, but lost? Or was it that team that lost a whole bunch of games and just happened to make it to the playoffs and just happened to make it to the championship game? They didn't look good, but they won. So I'm going to bring up 3 tips that's going to help you understand what successful leadership looks like. Number 1, I always look at the climate of the organization, the climate of the building, the climate of the department, how people within that space treat each other, because that's a clear indication of how the leader treats the people in that space. I like to pay attention to the body language of the people that's in that particular space. Do they look like they're happy to be there? Do they look like they're excited to do the things that they're doing? That's all a reflection of their leadership. You know, there's a saying that says people don't leave their jobs, they leave their leader. So when you have a department of people who understand the value of teamwork, and they understand how much it means to lean on one another, and they understand that they cannot complete any assignment, they cannot complete any project by themselves, and they have no problem leaning on each other, and they have no problem communicating with each other, they have no problem asking each other questions, they have no problem getting there a little earlier, they have no problem staying there a little later in order for the job to get done, then that's a pretty good sign that there's some good leadership going on. That's a pretty good sign that the leadership there has been successful. That's a pretty good sign that the leadership of that organization or that department has set clear standards and high expectations so that everyone else feels like they're valued to the point that they're willing to do what's necessary. The second point I want to make to answer the question, what does successful leadership looks like, goes with the training and the delegation that's happening within that organization. Because what that tells me is the level of trust that the leader has with the people within. Now, here's what I mean by that. A leader can have their hand on everything, but not necessarily in everything. As leaders, we have to understand the importance of training and trusting, because when you train, you trust. And when you trust, you delegate. When you delegate, you build the leadership capacity. When you build the leadership capacity, that leads to accomplishments, and accomplishments are measures of success. And my third point that highlights what the successful leadership looks like is something that I call leadership lineage. Now, there's an old quote that says something like, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Now, understanding that you may not ever be able to sit underneath the shade of that tree, leadership lineage has to do with what happens when that leader moves on, whether they move on to another assignment, whether they retire, whatever the case may be. The continued success of that organization has a lot to do with the displayed character and the principles and the values that that leader planted for that organization. So as they leave, whatever they planted there continues to grow. And I'm going to say that again, whatever they planted there continues to go. So that can be something that's positive, or that can be something that's not. That is why it is extremely important as leaders that we value people. That's why it's extremely important as leaders that we treat people, because we want our legacy, we want our leadership lineage to be one that's growing. That's why it's important for us as leaders to focus on making that infinite impact on the people we serve.
Listen, there's plenty of where that came from, so make sure you like and comment on this video, subscribe to this channel, hit that bell, and share this content with the people you know. If you're thinking of how you can book me to come and speak to your staff, your department, or your organization, please visit the website darylcrosby.com, go to the booking page, and we can discuss the next steps to make that happen.